A very good afternoon, everyone, and welcome you to the webinar on productivity shifting from outcome to process by an eminent personality, Mrs. Vedavalli Shivashankar, educator and language trainer, Chennai. Teaching is a very noble profession that shapes the character, caliber, and future of an individual. To succeed in your mission, you must have a single minded devotion to your goal. I would now like to introduce Mrs. Vedavalli Shivashankar, educator and language trainer, having over 9 years of experience, an excellent work record of creative, pedagogical practices, and unique class projects. Encouraged creative thinking and motivated students by addressing individual strength and weakness. Ma'am was appreciated by Dr. Mrs. YGP, the founder of PSBB's Group of Schools Chennai, for a poem on nature at the first School Science Expo, and she has designed the English Lab manual for the Language Lab middle school at Chettinad Vidyashram. She was awarded the Best House Mistress in the year 2013 to 14. She has been involved in training students for the National Debate Championships by Verbatel Foundations, in which the team emerged as winners. Piloted the annual inter-school debate event Ampersand in 2016, and she was the teacher coordinator for internal and external debating events, AFS Student Press Committee, and she has also trained middle school students on social emotional skill. Ma'am has completed her B.Ed from IGNOU Coimbatore, BE in Electronics and Communication Engineering from VLB Janaki Ammal College of Engineering and Technology, Coimbatore. Ma'am, we are really waiting to hear your words. Kindly take over the session.
Thank you, ma'am. It was sometime around July 2019 when I quit my teaching job, and having been in this teaching field for about around 10 years, I still keep in touch with my students. So the other day I was just asking one of my students, like it's been like a long time since I've interacted with them. So I was asking her, because of the pandemic, how are her classes going on? And she's just into first year college. So I was asking her how she's able to cope with the online classes and how productive it is. And that's when she told me, like, ma'am, I guess productivity is an individual attribute, and irrespective of whatever the external circumstances are. It was the biggest takeaway for me, and that's when I started discovering what productivity is all about. So a very good afternoon and a warm welcome to the principal, to the staff and the students of Sri Ramakrishna Polytechnic College, Coimbatore. The COVID-19 pandemic has impacted the way we all work, be it in the field of home, educational institutions, or the workplace, and the social environment for that matter. So it's been a different kind of experience for all of us. And under these challenging circumstances, productivity would be one of the key factors that would influence our quality of life, I would say. So let's now move on to the small presentation that I have for you, students. Just a minute, I'm just connecting it. So today I'm going to deal with productivity shifting from outcome to process. I hope you understand what I mean by this. Like most of us are obsessed with what is the outcome before doing how it should be done to get the required outcome. So the main focus here should be the process to achieve it. For example, to say it in simple words, you children are from grade 10 and you must be knowing that your parents are all working all the time, right? So I'll just take a small example related to your home itself. Like suppose you want to bake a cake. Now, the focus should not be how the cake is going to be, whether it's going to be soft, whether the texture is going to be nice, or the sweetness is right, the color is good and all that. But before that, you have to think, to get that outcome, what is the process that I'm going to do? So do you have the right ingredients, the right proportion, the right materials to bake the cake, and how it could be done, like the procedure to do it also. So this is what I mean by saying shifting from focus from outcome to the process. The process is more important. So when the process goes right, your productivity or the outcome will definitely be 100%. So what is productivity? If I go by the dictionary definition, productivity is the quality of being able to generate, create, enhance, or bring forth work in the most optimal way. So what is it to be productive? So in actually, when I said the example for you, I mean productivity means doing work in the most simplest way. So that's a simpler definition on productivity. So what is it to be productive? Being productive is to do effective work more efficiently, where effectiveness is doing the right thing and efficiency is doing it right with fewer resources. In if you want to relate to the WH questions, I would say effectiveness is related to why it is being done and when is it necessary to do that, and efficiency is what are the things that needs to be done and how it can be done more efficiently. So I hope you understand what do I mean by effectiveness and efficiency. So when both are working in tandem, then your productivity will be really great. Okay. Now, there are some factors which influence productivity, how for everything you have certain stepping stones, So the same way, consistency in work, that I think right from childhood, our parents would have taught us, like, even if you want to do your homework, they'll tell you, do it in a consistent manner so that you won't find it piled up later. So that is what is called consistency, repeatedly doing the same thing at a particular time or a particular comfortable way you want it to. Then second one is spending more time on improving things that are under your control rather than worrying about things beyond your control. Like suppose you want to do a presentation, my thing is to see that the slides are perfect and how it goes around, and not worry about what happens if there's a power break or I might not able to be doing a right presentation at the right time. So the thing is, you are just worrying about, you need to take care of only the things that are under your control. Then applying previous knowledge and exploring new and better ways of doing things. So definitely for each one of us, upgrading ourselves is one of the most important things. You guys just can't say like, I know these things and that's more than enough for me. So I think even the small children today, like parents are telling that you learn this, you learn that. I'm not telling that it has to be forced on you. By your growth, as you grow, I think each one of us will have that eagerness to learn more things. So you have to apply your previous knowledge and explore new opportunities as well. And the most importantly is to be motivated. And drawing inspiration comes from it could be from highly motivated or productive people, or it could be just your parents, your neighborhood. Any environment that is motivating you and inspiring you is the best way to start being more productive. So today I'm going to be telling you about some 12 simple ways to be more productive every day. So cultivate a simple habit of planning the previous day. I would admit that I have not been this way in my childhood. Like I am not like that. Maybe mentally in some ways, but not in the habit of like planning and recording all these things. Like what they would suggest is like I would suggest is just have a small a diary or something where you just write down what are the tasks that you want to accomplish the next day, and what are the resources that you need for it. Writing down these tasks itself will improve your confidence or boost your confidence. And the next thing is that will actually give you a sense of control over the situation, and that makes you more productive because your brain gets that space of becoming less stressed and more freer to operate well. Capitalize your most energetic hours to do your best work, because each work unit requires different physical and mental resources. So for most of us, like I would say, what I would say is, like each work may demand, it could be more of physical and less of mental, or less of mental and more of physical. So you have to break your work and also find the right combo of energy levels to match the work that you're currently going to do. And not just that, like most of us, like for the most important work that you want to do in a particular day, choose the peak time that you're most energetic with. Towards the end of the day, some of us may feel tired. For some of us, early mornings are the best period you can work. For some of us, it's just the middle of the day, and for many of us nowadays, it's the end of the day, like when everything is quiet, you feel that you can work better. So different people have different times, so it's upon you to choose which is the best working period for you. Now create a comfortable and suitable workspace for your personal needs. I think the picture itself speaks. You can see that the top one has a very clean and organized desk, whereas the other one, just by looking at it, you may feel a little confused as to what I'm trying to, I mean, what I'm supposed to do today. So it's always better to organize your things so that you feel comfortable and working on the space. And I know it's not easy for all of us to have a nice working place, but then even the smallest improvement that you can make, like you just put things in place, or if you have additional things, put them in a bag sideways, so that it doesn't distract you when you're doing a particular work, or having some nice color on your thing, something which will inspire you. All these things will make a small difference in your progress, like some things which you like, rather than having too many things crowded, and that will actually, a cluttered desk will actually stress you up, and that's a big productivity killer. So what I would suggest is make your workspace neat. It's not necessary that it has to be posh or anything. A neat working space would be ideal for being more productive. Now, it's okay to take a break. I think most of us, like we are so hesitant when we have lots of things to do, that we just feel that if I take a break, I may not find the time to complete it. We get overwhelming. I've got so much work to do. Let me not do all this, and just shut yourself in a room and do. But that's not going to help you at all. So break when you feel stuck, overwhelmed, anxious, frustrated, or annoyed. There's a simple quote, but it's so meaningful. Take rest. A field that has rested gives a bountiful crop. So when you take a break, I mean, it could be just, you have to just take a walk, or you can just listen to a piece of music that will inspire you. You can even go grab a snack, have some water or a juice that would freshen up. For some of us, even to take a small shower and come back, so that ideas will start flowing. So when you break from the stress, your mind becomes more free, and you're not actually thinking on what you have to do. You're not thinking about the problem at all. That's how you need to break from the stress. So a small stretch, or a small walk, or just as I said, go and have a snack or a drink, or just chat with your neighbor, or whatever it is, that could just give you that inspiration and that space to free yourself from the tension that you're going through. So you need to relax, refresh, and recharge yourself. And once you're recharged, the ideas will be flowing automatically, and you'll be working in a better way and in a more efficient way. So that is, break is very important. And the research has said, a power nap is very, very important to complete big tasks. Like a small short break and a good sleep of around 20 minutes. I think these days many of us are recommended to do that way, so that we don't get tensed and land up in trouble later. And not just that, and when you're feeling overwhelmed and do not take a break, the decisions that you make in a mental stress will be a disaster in future. So you see that you break from your work. This, why I'm stressing so much, is we are all so focused, or we all feel that doing a work without any break is going to get us to what we want to. That's not how it's going to be. You need to take a break, see that you're feeling energized, and then get back to your work, and that will actually unleash your creative potential. So the next one is, don't allow your thoughts to control you. This is something like human beings can't accomplish, because our mind is always running here and there. It's so, like multiple thoughts coming around, and we just have to focus. So first of all, we have to be aware that we all have the tendency to wander away from our thoughts. So, and when we realize that this is happening, the only way to come back to focus is by using strategies and consciously making an effort to focus on what you're doing. For example, like for your students now, when you're listening to your lecturer or your teacher, sometimes most of us, I would say, like, it's from my personal example. When I sit in a class, like, I would be, the first thing I would that would strike me is how the person is looking, what kind of a color of a dress she's wearing, or he's using, what shirt it is. Like, even these are all small things. We may not admit it, but that's how the human brain tends to work that way. So what I would say is, when you want to listen to a lecture which is going to be giving you a real input, like subject wise, be it a knowledge or whatever it is, just prepare prepare yourself that you are not going to focus on all these things. Your focus is going to see the person eye to eye and listen carefully to what he or she is going to say. So when you listen with total 100% of your effort, no, there's no need for you to actually go and study what you've been taught. It's the most simplest way, and that's the most productive way you can be, especially as students. That's my biggest request also. I mean, I request that that kind of thing is going to help you a long way in your future life. So staying focused, knowing that these things will distract you, you have to practice that I'm not going to, you can even write down, so these things I'm not going to take care. See, once you get distracted, then you might try to distract somebody next to you also. So these things you can just avoid by staying focused and knowing how to practice yourself and getting on to focusing yourself. Now, learn to say no to things that devalue your efforts. This, I think, most of us as Indians, we just, like we are all people pleasers. We don't want to say no to people. We feel like once we say no, how are they going to react? Will they accept me? How are they going to feel about it? Or how bad am I going to feel about it? So please, I'm telling you, it doesn't actually work that way. Productivity is not doing the right thing, it is also doing the thing right. So you have to balance, and you have to say a no, but you can say it in a very nice and polite way. You can just tell them, see, this is how my work routine is, and I already have a handful of work, so I would appreciate if you could do this for me also. So in that way, you're avoiding things that's not necessary for you, and at the same time, the no you've said is not going to hurt the other people, and nobody's going to take you wrong for that. So there's a lot of small nuances that you can learn as you grow, and communication plays a very important role. You just can't say, no, I can't do this right away. So the way you put it to another person will enhance your capability, and that will definitely improve your productivity in your future endeavors. The next one is steer clear of distractions if your temptations are overpowering. I think social media distraction is something that no one can overcome unless and otherwise we bring it into practice. And I have two data collected from the source, like where you see in one of them, the teen social networking stats, where 73% of the students use the social media networks, and something related to how they send messages, how their American students have been using Facebook. So all these are just showing how age group between, this is almost like kind of 10 to 15 age group school students, how distracted they are with the social networking. And there is also another part, where the second part, which shows like how people use that digital ways, like they just switch it off whenever they're having dinner with their parents, or with they're spending time with their family and relatives. So there are ways in which you can control yourself. So the best thing is to know, like, you can allot a separate time for that, not necessarily that you have to avoid it totally. You can allot a separate time for that. And then you can also, like, there's a way of making it complicated. Like, you can have a password for every application. So even when you get a beep or whatever it is, like you using one password and then another password will actually, like, not, you will just think, okay, let me just check on it later. And that, when you don't get distracted, your focus is really good, because very important work tasks will require more focus from your side, and for that you need not you're not supposed to have any kind of distraction. So that's a very important point, that all of us, like, be it students, staff, or anybody, it could be a housewife, whoever it is, in any circumstances, you have to lay off. Because I know, once I take up WhatsApp, it's going to be an endless chat. You will have so many messages. If you respond to one person and not respond to another, it's going to be a thing. So you have to know, suppose it's breakfast time, you're not going to get distracted by all that, but then just focus on your work, and then you can have a separate time where you can check out all your messages or chat or whatever it is, so that way you can plan the day, and also you can make yourself more productive. The next one is to figure out simple routines to start your work. Now, whenever you have to start your work, that anxiety that I have so much to do itself will stop you from getting started. So, establish a daily routine that can activate the patterns in your brain, which can overcome that mental block. Maybe, probably that's why, we have the school. Atmosphere itself, like at home, I'm sure none of us would be getting up on time, especially now we know that we sleep late in the night, we get up late in the morning, and breakfast time is already all becomes haywire. So mom will be shouting, you are not having your breakfast on time, your lunch gets delayed, so everything goes. So that's why they've established certain routines, like within this time if I do that, like if you're productive, you're not only bettering yourself, you'll also influence people to be more productive, the people around you. So establish routines that can actually, it'll, once you establish a routine, your brain will get used to that kind of a pattern, so it'll automatically tell you, like, this is the time. Your stomach also, your biological body also will recognize that, and you'll be more focused, and you that it will give you more mental strength rather than a mental block to begin. Then identifying what routine works for you and use them as a springboard to get started. Now, for example, I would say, like, some of the routines, not many of us will feel like doing meditation first and then go to jogging, or just get up and start learning. So each one of us have different ways. Some of us sit to and like to relax with hearing some music, or some of us would like to have a morning walk or a small exercise that would actually help us to boost our physical and mental power, and then we can start working on whatever we want to do later in that day. So it's you just have to identify what works best for you and then start that way. I hope I'm making my points clear to you, students. The next one is myths of multitasking. Today multitasking, people say he's a great multitasker, but actually research has shown that multitasking is a great way to get a lot of things done. But in reality, it hampers the brain health by reducing one's comprehension, attention, and overall performance. So instead, what else can you do? You just have to focus on a single task, which is much more easier, and it's going to turn out to be more productive. Having the mental discipline to focus, so that would generate a useful insight on what you have to do with the task that is at hand. Then next is to schedule similar activities one after the other, so that will enable faster progress, as previous input gets extra, straves that extra mental stress. Like, suppose, for this, let me just give you a small example. Suppose you want to organize a birthday party. Just excuse. So you want to organize a birthday party. So to organize a birthday party, you have a lot of work schedule. So you just have to, first work is to write down all that you have to do. So the first thing would be buying a dress, buying gifts, inviting friends and relatives, decorating the room, ordering a cake. So there are so many things, cleaning up the house or setting up the table, whatever it is. So after listing out what all you have to do, some people are good at certain things. So then you schedule similar activities. For example, buying a dress and buying gifts all require outdoor commutation. So in that way, you club these activities and do it on one day. Then calling people and inviting, you can use your mobile, like where to send place an order to the cake shop, and then at the same time, you can also, at that specific time, you can also call your relatives, and then you can either chat with them or call them on whatever it is. So you just align different activities into smaller chunks, but then they have to go together, so that you can have that done together and finish it off with that. Then focus on what you can do best and delegate everything else, as it has multiple benefits. So when you delegate, you can achieve better scale, you can build trust and empower others also. And delegation is not going to be easy, like most of us think that we are good at what we want to do, and we feel like if we give this work to somebody else and what it doesn't turn up to the mark, then I'm not going to get this I mean, it's not going to be appreciated, or it may be just below what my expectation are. But that's not how it works. Each of us have a set of skills, and we also should trust that other people are also as good as us. So we have to train that we need to delegate certain tasks and see which task works best for us. And at the same time, see if you're delegating it to another friend of yours, especially if you're in a class, you're doing a project. For some of us, writing may be an easier thing, so you can write what all the project requires, the summary of it or whatever it is. Some of them may be good at speaking to people, so for a particular project they can go and see people, get statistics, get data, or get opinions. You need a lot of opinion poll when you do a particular project. So delegation is better than having everything onto yourself. So you'll build a network, and especially this is very important because later in life, when you're in a workplace, team playing is one of the most important attributes. Like you can't be doing all the thing all the time, and it's not going to be productive at all. So you just better to delegate and find the best way to delegate your work to others. Now the next point is schedule your responsibility. Now, what do I mean by scheduling your responsibility? First, let us go about what it is. Like for a student, I would say your responsibility could be that of a son, a grandson, a friend, a brother or sister, whatever it is. So schedule your responsibility. At this time of the day, I will help my mom or dad to get things from outside. At this time of the day, I can sit with my grandparents and talk to them and make them feel more comfortable. Or at this time of the day, I can talk to my brother or play with my sister, whatever it is. So upon your responsibilities, you will schedule your day, and you have to allot work for your college or whatever task that needs to be completed after coming from class. So you will have to schedule your day and see what role you're playing, and accordingly, whichever time suits that person and you have to schedule your responsibilities. Now, as I've already told you, you have to break them into smaller chunks so that you don't overload yourself on a particular day or a particular time. Now, set up your schedule. Either it could be a calendar, we just have a small calendar you can just have, or you have these post-it notes where you can just write down and randomly, in the order, you may just tick it off. And once it is done, you can just tick off to show that you are done with your work. And the next thing is, do the things that you have scheduled. This is very, very important. After scheduling, and if you're not doing what is scheduled, then you're actually not making a point of all the things that we've done so far. So when you have scheduled a particular task, you have to see that you have doing that work at that particular time and completing it. Okay, sometimes there may be some distractions you might not have completed, but then you make a note of it, that this part of the work is not complete, so it is pending. Either you complete it that day, later sometime, or you just take it to the next day and complete it whenever you're comfortable. So do the things that you've scheduled, and in case of an emergency where you're not able to, just keep it as a reminder. So I think most of you kids are well versed with the gadgets, and what online calendars are, or you can set up an alarm, whatever it is, whatever is more comfortable for you, you can work on that and see that you have set up a reminder to tell you what you have to do. So this is called time blocking. And when you time block, every day when you keep time blocking, it's going to be like your brain pattern registers to that way of it, and it will work in a very systematic way. And when system is perfect, productivity normally becomes 100%. So when you time block each day, it would be like time blocking your entire life. It may seem monotonous, but that's the best way of being more productive. And as I said, in a simpler way, productivity is achieving more in a easier way or in a lesser work environment. Now, scheduling has its own benefits. So it saves your brain power from better processing, organizing, and more lets you set stress free, and also saves your energy. And we should also think like we are not supercomputers where we can hold so much of memory and all that. So why do you want to unnecessarily strain yourself? You just have to write it somewhere and just make a note of it, or set up an alarm so that you don't stress your brain by having all these things to remember and all that. We may have the capability, but what I'm saying is that's unnecessary work from your side. So master the end of the day shift from work to non-work mode. This is something I think not many of us do it. Like we slog the entire day, and with a sluggish thing, we just say, okay, yeah, I'm done. I'm going to sleep. So let's not be that way. It's a better way that will motivate you for the next way is to master the end of the day shift from work mode to non-work mode. So record your progress. When I say record your progress, you're going to say what work you have achieved, what are the important tasks you have done, what are the how much time you have allotted for that particular, or within what time you were able to complete all of that. So that will give you a sense of achievement. You will feel proud that you were able to do this much and within this time, and that will help you to record your progress. So the next one is organize any uncompleted tasks. So this is what I told you before also. Sometimes we may have scheduled a particular task, but then when we have not completed, it's better to organize them is to either set up a reminder or make a note or have a stick it note, like paste it notes, which tells you that this is something I need to finish. But don't see that entire table is just lying down like that, and it's going to give you that mental stress. Put everything in place. You just have to set a reminder and acknowledge that the day is over. It's very important. You just acknowledge the day is over by saying, like, like my brother, he keeps an alarm to have his medications and all that. He uses that Morgan Freeman. His voice is really powerful. So he uses that kind of a reminder to tell him you have something to do now. So it's just a fun way of telling that the day is over. So you can use your favorite hero or anybody's voice that you're fond of to tell you, yeah, the day is over. Or you can have something like that, work off mode, life on mode. So that will give you a sense of completion of something, and you're entering into the next phase where everything will be a more relaxed and nice atmosphere for you. So I think these things we may not have done when we were small, but these tips might help you kids to enjoy what you're doing rather than taking it as a task every day, doing work all the time. So don't do that. Enjoy what you're doing, and that's to acknowledge what you've been doing, and that the day, whichever work you're doing, you're acknowledging it. Then the next one is good habits lay the foundations of productivity. I'm sure like all parents and all children will know that this is a very simple statement though, but it's very, very hard to follow, because good habits, normally we all tend to be as mischievous or as fun loving as possible, but that doesn't stop us from being good either. So there are some certain habits that are key to unlocking your maximum potential. So you have to know what are you good at, and if there are things that might affect your productivity, like suppose you're slightly a late sleeper and a late riser, then it may not actually may not be good for you, because both health wise and the way you work, it may not be actually good. So what you do is you just try to channelize or change your habits so that those things do not affect the way you work, and also does not burden the others around you. Then focus on yourself. What do I mean by focus on yourself? Not physically though, just focus on what you have to eat, like healthy food, healthy habits, kind of having a better relaxing methods. Sometimes you can do small stretches like meditation, and what is like how you can learn new things. If you just Google, you'll get plenty of information. Choose what is necessary for you. There are some beautiful a lot of beautiful and informative articles in the net, so you can just upgrade and upskill yourself. See what will make you good as a person to grow in a more holistic way. So that's what I mean by focus on yourself. Most of us don't focus on ourselves. It's all the time work or what we want to do or what others might think of us. That's not going to work for you. So you need to focus on what is good for you and what will make you good in future. Small changes here and there will definitely get you onto the track. Then remember the 3 P's, productivity with focus on the process and perseverance pave the way to growth. I think I've already told you productivity is both process and effectiveness and efficiency. So, and I told you, you have to see that it is a shift from obsessing about the outcome to the process. And then a consistency or a perseverance will help you reach that place. Like you can definitely later in future, when you're going to follow all these things as a daily routine in life, you'll definitely make big in future. So definitely, and the bottom line is, as no, as the old saying goes, a disciplined living is intelligent living. I think I would have I hope you students have benefited or will take away at least some of these points, and remember that these things will definitely help you in your future endeavors. Thank you, ma'am.
Veda ma'am, thank you ma'am. Excellent presentation, madam.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am, for the wonderful session. It was very motivating. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.